Heavenly Father, we pray that you guide this troubled council in its deliberations this evening for the betterment of all who live in the city. We ask that you protect the men and women employees of our city and the functions they perform for this community on a daily basis. We ask also that you take into your arms those of our military who have given their lives to bring democracy to the countries of Iraq and Afghanistan. For those who remain, bring them home safely as soon as possible. We pray also for our nation and its citizens during this time of financial difficulty. Let the crisis end and stability spread across our country. We ask all this in your name. Amen.
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 City Clerk, please read the roll call.
Councilor Dixon?
Aye.
Councilor Catalina?
Aye.
Councilor Osborne?
Aye.
Councilor Morgano? Councilor Gilzer?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Pizzolo?
Aye.
All present.
No expenditures to ratify. Next, we go to communications. First up.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, it's my privilege tonight to present to you this evening in recognition for Jack Lunsford, President and CEO of Westmark. Jack recently announced his retirement, and we want to recognize his service to Goodyear and to the West Valley through his service at Westmark. Someone close to Jack recently said, this work has been much more than just a job for him. It's been his passion. Goodyear has benefited from that passion over the years, as well as the West Valley, with Jack accomplishing much as he has served Westmark and each of us. Leadership is often measured by what one leaves behind or what continues on after someone leaves an organization. Jack has accomplished much at Westmark, which we've benefited from. Too much for us to talk about tonight in detail, but I do want to mention one thing as I present this to you, Mr. Mayor and Council. One accomplishment I want to take the time to mention was his leadership of the formation of the Greater Maricopa Foreign Trade Zone. In late 2010, we received federal approval for the Foreign Trade Zone that represents the West Valley. During 2010, Jack's leadership, he led us through numerous regional, state, and federal issues that eventually resulted in the approval of the Foreign Trade Zone. The Foreign Trade Zone program has already spurred economic development here in the West Valley, and especially here in Goodyear, as you're aware of Sub-Zero and several hundred employees that will be located here in Goodyear in this coming next few years. In fact, they'll start hiring employees this year. So with Jack's assistance, we already see his leadership having an impact on our city and will have an impact on the whole valley. Other areas are now considering and they're evaluating the structure that Jack led and we developed through Westmark, and so they're considering now foreign trade zones designed after the manner in which we created the Greater Maricopa Foreign Trade Zone. With that as an introduction, Mr. Mayor, we have prepared a proclamation for you to present to Mr. Lunsford.
Yep, this is good enough. I've known Jack for a few years now, and I know he's been a major impact player here on the west side for a lot of the development we've got. And with that, I'd like to go ahead and read this proclamation that we have here. Whereas Jack Lunsford joined with several West Valley advocates to co-found Westmark, serving its first board chairman, and whereas Jack Lunsford has served Arizona, the West Valley, and the city of Goodyear honorably for the past 7 years in the capacity of president and chief executive officer of Westmark, and was instrumental in creation of the Greater Maricopa Foreign Trade Zone that will help attract business to the West Valley. And whereas Jack Lunsford emphasized the importance of business and commerce to the economy of Arizona by serving on the board of the Greater Phoenix Chamber of Commerce, Business Coalition, Business Council, and its steering committee, Greater Phoenix Chamber of Commerce, Public Affairs, Education Committees, I guess we go on, and to the Education and Tax Committees of the Arizona Chamber of Commerce, and, that's a mouthful there, Jack, whereas Jack Lunsford contributed to the well-being of Arizona education as a founder, director of government relations and external affairs for Maricopa County Colleges, as Governor Fife Simonson's appointee to chair of the Arizona Commission for Post-Secondary Education, as an appointee by 3 different governors to the State Council for Vocational Education, as a public school district board member of the Western Maricopa Education Center, WestMEC, as president of Arizona Citizens for the Art, and as member and president of the Arizona Policy Forum, and whereas Jack Lunsford placed himself in the center of supporting local community needs by serving on the West Valley Arts Council, the Valley Citizens League, Big Brother, Glendale Cachachi Rotary, Camelback Kiwanis, City of Glendale Phoenix Community Alliance, the Arizona Bioscience Roadmap Steering Committee, and a co-chair of its Federal-State Relations Committee, and as an appointee by 3 different governors on the Citizens Transportation Oversight Committee for Maricopa County, and numerous other boards, commissions, and committees. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, as mayor of Goodyear, Arizona, do hereby call upon all residents of Goodyear to recognize and applaud Jack Lunsford for its leadership, vision, and dedication to our community.
Wow. To get recognized for something that's your passion and for something you believe in is humbling, to say the very least. And I'm very fortunate and very blessed because I've been able to do what I love doing. And to get this recognition tonight truly is an honor that humbles me beyond what I think you might realize. And I've done it with the people within this community who've been of tremendous support. I would love to name everyone, many of whom are in this room, who have been there in support. And if I do, I'm afraid I'm going to leave somebody out. And besides that, you have a really busy agenda. So I really want to thank council for this recognition. I did joke earlier that I hoped I had the votes. But as a former lobbyist, that's how I think. As a lobbyist, you're always looking to make sure you've got the votes. So I guess maybe I was fortunate that they didn't vote on this tonight. But I am truly honored. Harry, thank you very much. And to Mayor and Council, again, thank you. And this is evidence that it is passion, and at times I didn't have a life. So thank you all very, very much.
Before Parrish, you come up, see if there's any comments here that we have from the council that would like to add to that recognition. Let's start. Oh, did he? Well, that's okay. Go ahead. Let's start over here with Sherry, and we'll work this way.
I just would like to thank him for his service. I just knew him briefly for being on the council, so thank him very much.
Yeah, and well, I just want to say I've heard of and not really known very closely, but Jack Lunsford worked with my wife years and years ago at Maricopa Community College District before we even came over here, before we even moved to Goodyear years ago, and I knew Jack Lunsford from that point, and then realizing that he had become a part of Westmark, I was very excited to know that this man, I knew it would be a great future for him, and I knew he would do a lot for the West Valley. His ambition and his vitality, I knew would make this work, and he has accomplished that, and I appreciate that, and I know the community around me does. We know Jack, and we appreciate what he's done for us, and it's with a heavy heart that we see him go. Thank you, Mayor.
Gary.
I met Jack Lunsford through Leadership West when I was on the board, and he took over Westmart. And he's always been a supporter of the West Valley and always been a supporter of that program. And there are big shoes that we're going to have to fill with the next person. He's going to be missed.
Joanne?
I met Jack at the Arizona Town Hall about 4 years ago, and he has a wonderful sense of humor and a great spirit. And really, the West Valley has been honored with his presence in helping with education and with really strengthening partnerships and cooperations between the cities and business. And I'm very appreciative for his leadership.
Ever since I've been on the council, I've been on the Westmark organization with the Westmark organization, and along with that, primarily with Jack, who's done very well for the city of Goodyear, and not to say the least, what he's done for Maricopa County as a whole. What you heard here this evening, the number of associations that he's been associated with, you can surely understand how he is going to be missed. And it's going to be a void that's going to be hard to fill. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
No, thank you. With that, Parrish, got a new program I'm kind of excited about here, the Project 5. You're going to talk a little bit about it first?
Yes, good evening, Mayor and Council. The future of Goodyear is bright, and tonight the Youth Commission will introduce Project 5, their new public service campaign. I'd like to give the honors over to the chairperson of this year's Youth Commission, Sharon Ahmedpour.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Sharon Ahmedpour, Chairman of the Goodyear Youth Commission, and here with me today is my co-chairman, Sam Bott, and Commissioners Aaron Stipp and Nidhi Prescott. Project 5 is a public service campaign we've been working on for the past 6 months, which is sponsored by the McDonald's of Goodyear. The objective of Project 5 is to target 12 to 17-year-olds to really encourage civic engagement and get them involved in volunteering around the city and to help better our community. We also plan to target parents and educators to really help them communicate with their children on how important it is to participate in city events. Project 5, the key components are speaking up, lending a hand, showing respect, being courteous, and leading by example. We plan to build awareness of Project 5 through various social media, such as Facebook and Twitter. That way, all youths can get updated on what volunteer projects are out there. We also plan to pass out bookmarks and appear at local events, local city events, as well as school assemblies with our banners that are sponsored by the McDonald's of Goodyear. And by the end of May, we plan to have 500 Facebook followers, which means there will be 500 followers who will see updates on volunteer events. And at this moment in time, we'd like to present our final video.
Hey, whoa, hey, leave him alone, man. Come on, leave him alone. Give him his stuff. Good.
How do you think you're doing, Dennis?
Be honest, I don't get this.
You'll get it, I promise. Just read this section and then write down any questions you have, and I'll be happy to answer them. How'd you do on the test?
I got an A.
Good job.
We all have to respect each other's space.
Because we all have the right to dance.
Hey, you need help?
And That is our plan to stop graffiti in Goodyear.
That's a great idea. That's exactly what Leading by Example is all about. The Goodyear Youth Commission wants you to get involved to make our community the best it can be. Join us for the Project 5 Challenge to be a good citizen. Because service is the new Friday night. Thank you so much for your time, and if you have any questions, we'd be happy to answer them.
Any comments?
No, I'm just impressed.
No, again, thank you for your service. You guys are our future, so keep it up.
Thank you.
We'll see
You know how many, you know how many teens you have involved in your organization at the present time?
So far, we have over 30, and we just launched today, so
Very good.
we'll be up there soon.
Great, good.
All right, fantastic.
Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Nathan going to give us update. Spring training.
Okay, Nathan. Mayor and Council, my name is Nathan Torres. That's a tough act to follow, and I look forward to working with Project 5 sometime out at the ballpark. I'm here today to give a quick preview on Spring Training 2011 preparations. Mayor and Council, the grass is green. Over 220 volunteers have been trained and outfitted. The smell of popcorn and hot dogs is in the air around the ballpark. Spring is in Goodyear. We were recently nominated or voted best spring training facility, best place to see a spring training game by the Phoenix New Times. You take a great facility design and you marry it with great operations, and the result is a very positive fan experience. This is an honor for Goodyear to receive, especially in our sophomore infancy, which was at that time. There are 10 other facilities in the Cactus League, 15 other teams, so we're very proud of this accomplishment. It goes back to our vision as early as 2007, when we focused on one small phrase. It was like no other design, like no other operation, like no other fan experience. So we're very proud of this honor. The players are here, and they're working out daily. Actually, workouts will begin February 16th. For those of you that aren't aware, the practice facilities at the player development complexes are open daily at 9:30. And it's free of charge. And this is actually the best place to come and perhaps obtain an autograph and get up close and intimate with the players. Watching them practice, you hear the pop of the glove, the crack of the bat. Truly great time. We invite everyone out to the complexes to watch the teams practice every day. And listening to our fans this past season, as well as research that we conducted over the past year, discretionary spending on leisure activities still remains a challenge for most. And our effort this year, the key premise is affordability for the ballpark. We have something for everyone. We've tried to curtail our pricing to be more affordable and therefore more attractive to the spring training visitors. We're pleased to introduce this year child ticket prices. It's a unique concept for baseball. But basically, this is half-price tickets for children. If I'm going to the game and I bring my 3 children, I'll pay adult full price for myself plus half price for each of my kids. So it's a great promotion. We're inviting everyone to take advantage of that. We also are mixing in dollar berm days. So when our Indians and Reds teams play each other, you can come out with the price of a regular price admission and purchase a berm ticket for $1. Again, great opportunity, affordable. We're also partnering with McDonald's here locally to provide McDonald's Fun Pass packs. Basically includes value meals and tickets to a ball game. Of course, we're also hitting our senior population, our military, college ID discounts. And something we're most proud of this year is we've expanded our Goodyear resident offers. Basically, each Goodyear resident will receive via their water bill insert, or if you receive that electronically, they'll receive an electronic version. Basically, this coupon that's reflected here, it's a buy one, get one. offer with very little restrictions, as well as additional savings for other games. So we're pleased to offer these and make them available for all ages at the ballpark. Again, affordability being the big push here. We're all set for opening day, February 27th. The Indians will take on the Reds. We will have a parachute demonstration by the Arizona Sky Sox. We'll have a very special tribute to Mr. Bob Fowler. Live music, very festive environment, autograph sessions, balloon twisters, face painters, jugglers, and special mascot appearances. And Goodyear Ballpark will be unveiling a special mascot for the ballpark as well. It's under tight wraps, but I can tell you that it will have a very strong characteristic of some of the key features of the ballpark. So we're excited about that. We look forward to seeing everyone out on opening day. After opening day, we're continuing with our fan favorites, our all-time best in the Cactus League, Family Zone, Fun Zone, free of charge. Kids can show up, parents can play. There's a wiffle ball field. They can test their skills in batting and throwing. You name it. Our popular kids run the bases. Of course, seniors stroll the bases, which sometimes turns into senior slide. Play catch on the field, autograph days. We have plenty going on and something for everyone this coming spring. Get your tickets now. Tickets are on sale. The team shop is currently open as well. It's stocked, ready to go, and we're excited about seeing all the fans out. Take me out to the ball game. We're here, and Councilmember Galzer, I think we have a spot out there on the berm for you, and that truly is the best place to see a game. It's you're sitting down on the berm. It's like being at a beach with a baseball game. Tall glass of lemonade, and we look forward to seeing you all at the ballpark for lots of fun this season. Thanks.
Nathan, just real quick, what's the definition of the child? When you were talking about you could come out with your children, what age does that go up to?
It's a great question. The child pass is good for 12 and under.
12 and under. Okay, thank you. Great. Next up, Mike.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. My name is Mike Svets, Director of Parks and Recreation. It is my pleasure to introduce the new Executive Director for the Southwest Valley YMCA, Barbara Lukowitz. Barbara started with the YMCA on Monday, December 13th, so almost exactly 2 months ago. She has been involved in their membership kickoff in the month of January, already hosted her first board retreat. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Barbara.
Thank you very much for inviting me here tonight. I'm pleased to be here. I'd like to talk a little bit about the fact that I'm really happy about the partnership that the YMCA has with the City of Goodyear. I put together a couple of little things so that you could remember. As you know, the Goodyear Pool and the pool at the YMCA, we have about 2,400 members at the YMCA, and about 3,500 swim lessons are offered every year. So for the City of Goodyear residents, it's really something that happens on a very regular basis, that people come. Everyone in the United States supposedly lives only 5 miles from a YMCA, and so the people in the City of Goodyear, they come, they take their swim lessons, adults, children. On a summer day, we have 950 swimmers that visit our pool. So that's a really good service to the residents. We have approximately 150 and 200,000 people a year visit the pool. So with respect to our partnership and how we continue to maintain the pool and offer it to you, the citizens of Goodyear, that's really great. We have a competitive swim team. It's about 215 members on the swim team. When we have meets, and our pool is considered to be the best in the West Valley. It's a very fast pool. Pools have personalities. You can be very happy to know that the City of Goodyear is well represented by your pool. It's a happy place, and people set records in that pool. So having been voted the best pool in the West, we do everything we can in order to maximize that. The City of Goodyear has also been very good to us with respect to the revenue enhancements and the partnerships that we have. We have the spring training charity game. It'll take place. Each of you got a flyer on that. That's March 9th. And we have the YMCA Fun Night at the Goodyear Ballpark. And so what we do is we try to make sure that our organization is embedded in the community, that we form partnerships, and we plan to be here in a long time and offer those services to the residents of Goodyear. The last thing I wanted to say is that the YMCA is in a positive fund balance. And for many of you who have either been on the board of directors or who serve on the advisory board capacity or who know people are, that's a great achievement. The other thing we're doing is we're putting into motion to finish our capital campaign. It's currently in phase 2, and that will make sure that we have additional capacity in order to service the citizens of Goodyear. So if you have any questions, I've worked in nonprofit development for 25 years, but I'm happy. Yes, sir.
Councilmember Cavalier.
Yeah, I have a question. What is there for the citizens of Goodyear? Is there a discount, or is there any? Is there a Goodyear Day? We had something set up that was because Goodyear is financially serving the pool and the YMCA, that we had something that worked.
Right. I don't know whether there's been a Goodyear, I have to say that I don't know if there's been a Goodyear Day in the past couple of years, but I know that we have 2 times that the YMCA is open to the public. One of it is on our Strong Kids campaign kickoff, which is also an open house for anyone who wants to come and visit the Y. So the services are open. That's next week on the 22nd. It's open to everybody. Come on down. It's an open house. We'll have visitors from the ballpark and the Indians and everybody there. So it'll be a good time. The other time we have is we open the facility during the Goodyear in Action Days. And so our partnership with Goodyear in Action, Goodyear in Action has several days that they are at different facilities. So March 5th will also be a day in which people can come and use all the facilities at the YMCA.
I know it was talked about when we first went into this partnership. I was on the council, and we talked about having several days during the year where the citizens of Goodyear would have a day at the pool.
I'll make that happen. I'll make it happen.
I think that it has occurred, and
Well, that's good if it has.
during the summer. Yes, it has. Right.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Any other?
Thank you.
Any other? Thank you.
Thank you very
I'm on
much.
the board, so
Thank you very
Barbara.
much. We appreciate the partnership that we have with you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Now comes the point where we have citizens, any comments from citizens on non-agenda item. I'd like the citizens to know that because of the open meeting law, we can't discuss anything that's not on the actual agenda, but what we can do is ask the staff to investigate anything that you bring before us, or we can ask for it to be scheduled on a future agenda. So with that, City Clerk, do we have any?
Yes, I have several. The first one is Peter Bezanson.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Yes, Peter Bezanson, Chief Academic Officer from Great Hearts Academies. Address is 444 North 44th Street in Phoenix, 85008. Mr. Mayor and council members, I'm pleased to report that Great Hearts Academies and the City of Goodyear were able to come to an agreement this afternoon regarding the off-site street improvements near the future Trivium schools on McDowell Road. This agreement is truly a win-win for Trivium and the City of Goodyear. Thanks so much to the Goodyear residents, city staff, mayor, and council for helping us reach this solution. Great Arts Academies is looking forward to opening a world-class, classical, liberal arts, tuition-free K-12 school in Goodyear, a school that we hope will become the jewel of the growing Great Hearts network of schools. We sent an email to our families announcing this compromise this afternoon, but I wanted to come and personally express my gratitude to council and staff. Thank you.
No, thank you.
Stephanie Eastman.
I only came to comment on what was just spoken about. I didn't get the email that there had been a compromise. So thank you so much for working with us and for the future of the children in Goodyear. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Richard Lancaster.
Richard Lancaster, address 18490 West San Carlos Drive, Goodyear 85338. The reason for my visit tonight is I live up at Estrella Mountain Ranch, and my water bill up there, water, sewer, trash bill, averages $150 to $190 a month, and there's just my wife and I. So I started looking at the bill, and one of the things that I came up with was I'm being charged for the exact amount of water that I use for the exact amount of sewer, or vice versa, actually. I'm getting charged for sewer for the exact amount of water that I use. I have a pool, at least 1,500 gallons a month evaporate from that pool, so that doesn't go down the sewer. I have a water irrigation system. I'm being generous, or not generous, skimpy, when I say that I'm probably using 500 gallons a month on that. That doesn't go down the sewer. So I'm being charged for that. My water meter, since I've lived here, which is 4 years and 4 months, well, my water meter is $198 a year, or $509.08 a year. And I'm sure that a water meter has a certain amount of lifetime. And I would think that after a period of time that I would have paid for that. And I don't think that I'm being given consideration for that. And the next thing is I'm paying, let me find it here, I've got it. Well, I don't have it here. But, well, maybe I guess I don't. But I think it's just under $10 a month I'm paying for a sewer meter. I don't know about you folks, but I'm 72 years old, and I've never heard of nor seen a meter for a sewer in a residential area. Why do I pay that fee every month? And should not there be some kind of a longevity on a water meter that I have to pay for that every month? I understand that, you know, things have a certain amount of, is that the buzzer to quit?
You have 30 more seconds, sir.
Oh.
Keep going.
Okay.
Keep going.
Well, I've pretty well said what I have to say. I think you understand my point, and I would like to have some redress to this.
Mr. Manager, can
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Lancaster, we will have a member of our water crew contact you tomorrow because we offer the service that we investigate situations such as yours. It doesn't sound quite right, so we will be happy to take that into account.
Well, I've had you people out before, and come to find out I did have a water leak. And I took care of that. I'm not complaining about how much you charge for the water. It's just that the thing that gets me is I'm being charged sewer on water that never even goes into the sewer. And just to be a little more enlightening, I have talked to the water department, and they have told me, in their words, they don't understand how they can charge the people for a sewer meter when they don't even exist.
That's right.
You know, I mean,
I'll make sure it's getting followed up on, sir. And
Thank you very much. Thank you for your time.
You'll give us some feedback.
Thank you.
Okay. Next.
The next one is Jennifer Nagel.
Good evening. My name is Jennifer Nagel. I live at 397 North Litchfield, Goodyear,
Nagel,
85338.
would you be kind enough to move that microphone in front of you? Thank you.
No, you're fine.
On April 6, 2008, Jared Pendleton turned 18 years old and was at a party. Jared left the party and was headed down Yuma Road and was struck and killed by a car. The Goodyear Police Department called it an accident hit and run. It may have been an accident that night, but it became a murder when no one took responsibility. We believe the Goodyear Police Department did not do a thorough investigation. The report reflects serious conflict of truth, shows lack of integrity to investigate this young man's death. These are just a few of the publicly known facts. The police officer at question was fired from the Avondale PD for driving poorly and multiple on-duty accidents prior to his hiring at Goodyear. He was required to sign a contract of employment that stated he would be terminated if he was involved in an accident while on duty. He admitted hitting something that night at that location and was allowed to take his car home. Less than a minute after the officer hit something, a sergeant came through the same location and found Jared lying on the road. The city attorney stated in an interview with the Arizona Republic that the camera of the sergeant's vehicle that was behind the officer was turned off. But another officer reported that the sergeant's camera was on and he reviewed the tape. Quite a contradiction. A sergeant in charge of the crime scene is on a Brady list, which is a list kept by the Maricopa County Attorney's Office for officers who have lied in judicial proceedings under oath and are therefore considered unreliable. No detective, only police officers who were not trained homicide investigators investigated this scene. No outside agency was brought in to investigate this murder scene that night, even though there was a question of a police vehicle being involved. The initial report on April 9, 2008, never even reflected that the officer hitting anything. It was not changed until August 31, 2008, after Terry Woodmansee had gone to the Maricopa County Attorney's Office with the facts. Terry Woodmansee did the right thing and tried to get a true investigation into the Goodyear Police Department's involvement in this murder. As a result of her coming forward, Chief Brown fired her. Recently, a second employee under federal subpoena by the city gave a deposition under oath that the chief was notified by Commander Ralph McLaughlin that the officer believed he had struck and killed someone that night. We believe this second employee lost his subordinates, was removed from being PIO, and reassigned to a project in direct retaliation for his truthful testimony. An article in the West Valley View on February 1st, 2011 of the project shows absolutely no involvement by this employee. City council members have a responsibility in this as elected officials. When Terry Woodmansee went to you after being fired and brought out the facts of this investigation, what did you do? You turned a deaf ear. When the paper first broke this story in January of 2009, did the council members or city management call for an investigation by the FBI or the Attorney General? It's been almost 3 years and there's been no justice for Jared Pendleton's family. Citizens of Goodyear are now speaking out. Now this department is facing another scandal of debauched investigations under this command staff. It's time for accountability, transparency, and justice. Jared was a great young man with a bright future. All of that was taken away that night. We're asking for justice for Jared. We believe this is not an example of a police department that is incompetent, but an example of a police department that is involved in a conspiracy and cover-up. We will be holding a candlelight vigil in front and pray that Jared gets the justice he deserves. We want every victim in this city to have their rights, to have justice, and to have a police department and city that does the right thing. Thank you.
Currently, the matter is under litigation. We cannot comment on it.
I can't see it.
Any other cards there?
Not under citizen comments, no.
Nothing? Okay. With that, to the consent agenda?
Yep.
You want to read that by title?
Item A, approve draft minutes of a work session, a regular meeting, and a special meeting held on Monday, January 24th, 2011. Item B, adopt resolution 11-1416, approving an amended and restated development agreement with WW Project Seller LLC, an Arizona limited liability company, aka Meritage Homes of Arizona, for developing 638 acres of land known as Sedea into 1,168,000 residential lots, 2 commercial parcels, an elementary school site, and a fire station site generally located south of Camelback Road, north of Indian School Road, east of Perryville Road, and west of Citrus Road within the city of Goodyear, and providing for an effective date. Item C, adopt Resolution 11-1417 to be proactive and involved in the state governmental decision-making process directly affecting the city legislative priorities identified in the City Council Action Form Report and the Arizona League of Cities and Towns legislative priorities, and providing for an effective date.
Do you have any cards, any citizens?
Yes, I do. Roger Matlin on 7B.
7B, Roger?
Good evening. I've been so busy today getting cards and hugs from voters, I don't know what to do.
That's nice, Roger. What's your question?
To all of you, happy Valentine's Day.
Thank you, Roger.
Big hugs and kisses to the city as well. This issue I had a concern with because it seems like what I read on Roger Matlin, Goodyear, what I read in the report indicates that you're basically just waiving $6 million in monies that were owed for operations of the fire department, and you're letting the developer not build a park in the future. And I don't quite understand that. Why would you change the development agreement? It just seems kind of awkward to me. Even if you get the monies back in the future, that can be over an extremely long period of time, and you define it as getting those monies back on a proportionate basis at the time of building permit issuance. Is that grading, or is that actual homes being built, or is that infrastructure? Because it seems like this is kind of like the annexation, where the developer has a good chance of bailing out once they get this agreement, and then taxpayers once again get stuck with in this case, $6 million bill and no park. And it seems like that $6 million is needed for our fire department, so I would just want a little bit of explanation on it, and specifically, why aren't you staying with the original agreement?
Sure, Roger. Let's see if I can get somebody to...
I can probably address that, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. This is an agreement that was entered a number of years ago, and as we are all aware, development conditions out in the world have changed. This agreement, as it was originally drafted, called for significant upfront annual contributions for fire O&M payments. The developer, due to the housing conditions, was not able to develop the property in the timeframes originally contemplated in the agreement, but has come back to the city looking to renegotiate certain provisions of the agreement in order that they can proceed with development at this time. And certain of their representatives are here this evening, and they're prepared at this time to move forward with the offsites and as well as development of the property. What Mr. Matlin says is partially true, that we are we have renegotiated the fire O&M provision, but we haven't waived $6.5 million. What we've done is structured that on a per unit basis. So anytime a housing permit is pulled in this development, they're going to pay a pro rata cost of what the totality of the original agreement is. So we're not waiving any funds. We've just broken it down on a per unit basis. And given the current conditions in the housing market and the status of the development world, it seemed like a prudent way to restructure this agreement and allow the development the opportunity to proceed at this time. There was also some other benefits for the city in the restructuring of the agreement, such as the dedication of the fire site at no cost to the city, and the waiver of the provision that would have required the creation of a community facilities district up in the area. It wasn't beneficial to the city to create that CFD. That was a requirement of the original development agreement, but that provision has been waived. There's also a provision that's waived for the city to create a cost recovery zone up in the northwest quadrant of the city to recapture some of the costs associated with the development. That was a requirement on the city. That's going away as well. So it's an attempt to work with the developer to allow for the development of the property given the current conditions in the housing market. So the city's not giving anything up. It's just broken down the upfront cost onto a per unit basis. So when they pull up a housing permit, they have to pay the O&M fees on a per unit cost, if that makes sense. Thank you.
Did I get your answer, Roger? Did that answer your question?
Yes, I would just ask that could the developer consider putting up some portion of the money up front now, or putting some kind of time frame on it so that, because then they can pull permits for the next 40 years if the housing market doesn't turn around. And if you have one home and you have one call, a fire truck has to go out there, and the fire department has to respond. So if you're doing it on a proportionate basis, once you have one dwelling, you're incurring the costs as a city. So I'm just asking that, are they willing to put up the funds now?
Okay. Well, thank you for your comments. I have an additional question on the follow-up with Roger mentioned. The fire station, what's that? Okay. Any other puts?
I would just point out that it's planned that this is going to be served out of the Pebble Creek site at this time, which is where there's no immediate plans to develop the fire station site at the Sadea development. And the developer has already paid $2.25 million. That occurred several years ago, and they never developed the property.
Well, let me go on as Councilmember Cavalier had mentioned real quick, because I want to get back to that specific question. Are there any other other than the B that you have cards for? All right. Is there any questions that council has regarding? Go ahead, Councilmember Cavalier.
Well, it's the same. I'd like to follow up on what Citizen Roger said on this. He has a point on this. Are they going to be able to put any houses in the ground without paying that full amount, or with what they've already paid, they can begin developing?
Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Cavalier, as it's restructured, they will begin their off-site infrastructure improvements, and then they'll start on and they can maybe speak to the timeline on the housing project. But what they'll do is they'll pay on a per unit basis. So what we've taken is the whole. We're not waiving what they would have paid under the original agreement, which I think was $6.5 million over the life of the agreement. What we've done is instead of breaking that down on a yearly basis, I think it was $600,000 per year in that range. What we've done is taken that, apportioned it over the number of units that are approved in the development, and they'll pay that on a per unit basis when the permits are pulled. So instead of paying $700,000 per year, just flat O&M cost, it's been broken down to, I think it's like 600 and some odd per housing unit. And that'll allow them to cash flow and begin development of the project.
Then they will have, how many years will it be before we actually build a fire station in that 2-acre facility?
Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Cavalier, we have no idea. It's long-term in the future projections. It is not projected at a specific date right now.
But they'll be covered by that fire station at Pebble Creek.
Yes, they will.
So that gives us enough, I guess, least amount of distance that won't cause a problem with time.
That's correct.
Now the other thing, the CFD. We have CFDs all over the city. Why are we allowing this development to not have a CFD? And that means the developer will pay and take care of all of those charges and everything that the CFD would have paid for?
Mr. Mayor, Councilman Cavalier, yes, instead of creating that special taxing district to pay for certain improvements, those will certainly be developer obligations. So the issue was creation of CFD for this particular development, which was not of sufficient size to really be ideal for the city. So it's in the city's best interest to negotiate that provision away. So that would be developer obligations.
Okay. Does this mean we're moving away from CFDs?
I'm not sure I'm the best person to answer that. I think that's a policy decision. I think
I
certainly
would
the
hope
market
that we,
today is
yeah, I
not
would hope
ideal.
to see us do that. It's been quite a burden on our citizens. Thank you.
Any other comments?
Yeah, I'd like to make a comment. I'd like to comment on CFDs in that a CFD is basically a down payment that the developer pays up front, and that it allows the citizen to buy a house at a cheaper total price initially, but they have to pay for the improvements to the streets over a 20 or 30-year period. So it's a financing issue. It is not something, from a policy point of view, a CFD is an incentive for a developer to, one, get cheaper funds, but two, to put in beautiful streets before each house is built and be able to do it on one fell swoop. So in my opinion, a CFD is a positive way of financing infrastructure.
I think I take issue with that.
Well,
We
that'll be
always have, Frank.
That'll be a discussion for another day. Go ahead, Councilmember Loretano, and then I'll get back to Councilmember Osborne.
When the money is paid to us for the fire station, how does the city handle it? Do we put it in an account so we'll have it there for our fire station, or does it just go into the general fund? Because if this fire station is going to be built, 5, 6, 10 years down the road, how do we handle the money as it comes in?
I think primarily these are O&M funds, so they're going to be on general fund monies.
Council.
Just to follow up, the issue with the park next to the school, was that not something that the school district had said they'd rather not have the park there? Did I read that
That
correctly?
may be a Harvey question. I don't recall what the answer to that was. Sorry, Harvey, I could only go so far.
That's a good question.
Mayor, Councilman Osborne, yes, that's correct. The school district no longer wants that property.
Okay,
next to the school
so
district, nor does the city.
I understand. So now, where's the open space percentage for the development, since that would have been part of it, correct?
Mayor, Councilman Osborne, the property has fairly large lots, 65 and wide lots and larger. So, and also they have sufficient open space throughout the development that would satisfy the open space requirements. So we felt that we didn't want another 5-acre public park adjacent to the school to maintain, and felt that was more of a burden on the city. So we felt there was sufficient open space and a large lot development. That was the thinking. And the school district
I
felt like they
understand
had
the school
enough.
district, I
And the school
understand
district
that.
didn't
I'm
feel
more
like this.
wondering than, I'm not sure if I agree with that part. Okay, thank you.
Just to follow up on Councilmember Loretano's comment, I realize those funds go into the O&M. My only concern, though, is what'll happen is it'll get into the general fund and we'll end up spending it, and when it comes time to build the fire station, we'll have to look for $1 million operating to do that. I would prefer, I don't know about my fellow council members on this dais here, is to set that money aside as you're collecting it so that when it comes time to build it, at least the money's there and we don't have to worry about, because as things grow, we're going to have various demands on our general fund, and it would be nice to know that that money is there, when that comes about, so we haven't spent it. I don't know how the others feel about that, but that's the one thing that kind of jumped out with me with collecting the money, and that's fine, spreading out over that period of time, but I'd like to make sure it's there from an operation for at least a year or two when you go live, so we don't have to find money from somewhere else to run it.
Mr. Mayor, doesn't each house have a fire impact fee that it also has to contribute for?
Not for O&M.
I'm not talking about O&M, but for the building itself, the building of the fire station.
That's correct.
Yeah, there's two components to the fire fee, Mayor. There's the fire O&M fee, which is the $6 million spread on a unit basis for operating funds, and then there's a separate fire facilities fee that would go into for capital for the construction of, and that is dedicated, and that goes into, that's separately accounted for, it cannot be spent for anything else.
Yeah, and I'm not concerned about building it, but when we build it, I want to make sure we have the money to operate it. And that's why, since we're collecting this $6,000 per unit to operate it, that's correct, right? The $6,000 per unit is the operation component.
Well, yes, that's
Okay,
what I want
I just want to make sure that money's there when it comes time to operate it, because that's what it's intended for, so we don't have to squeeze it from the general fund. We'll have other demands as times grow. That's kind of where I'm coming from.
Mr. Mayor, we can take a look at that and see what we bring back a recommendation to you later.
Okay, thank you. Anything else?
Well, I just thought that was implied that any funds collected would be put into a fund where it would be held for that, could not be spent for anything else.
Nothing's implied, Frank. That's why I asked.
Well, that doesn't make sense. It seemed like that would have to be put into that fund and set aside without being used anywhere else.
They'll bring something back, but that's, it sounds like we're kind of all on the same page here, so to speak. But with that, any other questions? With that, get a roll call.
Councilmember Sousa?
Aye.
Councilmember Cavalier? Oh, wait, I need a motion and a
Oh,
second.
excuse me. Need a motion on the floor?
Consent agenda.
I move that we approve the consent agenda as read by the clerk, Mr. Mayor.
So we got a motion from Councilmember Gelser, second from Councilmember Sousa.
Councilmember Sousa?
Aye.
Councilmember Cavalier?
Nay.
Councilmember Osborne?
Aye.
Councilmember Loretano?
Aye.
Councilmember Gelser?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Pizzillo?
Aye.
Passes 5-1.
Now we go to the portion, the business portion of the meeting. Contract with Southwest. Police Chief, you're going to be doing the presentation?
Fire Chief.
Fire Chief, excuse me. It's been one of those days.
It has. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Paul Louisi, the interim fire chief for the Goodyear Fire Department. Tonight I'm going to be talking about the ambulance contract that we have between ourselves and Southwest Ambulance. It's been a long road. Started developing this back in April of 2007. And as you can see, we've already come to council once with what we thought was a finalized contract. Unfortunately, as we move forward into 2009, April of 2009 to be exact, that's when the contract was signed by the city council. And when we went to DHS for final approval, it got extended and canceled actually up to 5 times, rejected by DHS. So at that point, we had to keep going back, meeting with the lawyers, talking about the issues that we have within the contract, and then finally, almost now 2 years later, we have a finalized contract. So, Southwest Ambulance was founded in 1982 with one ambulance, and since then the company has grown into the largest ambulance transportation provider in Arizona, serving more than 40 communities with more than 1,200 talented and dedicated employees. The company has more than 300 ambulances and approximately 100 stations throughout the counties in Arizona. 3 of those stations are currently in Goodyear, and despite not having a formal contract for years with us, they have been our sole emergency transportation provider for EMS calls for the city of Goodyear, and they have been a good partner with us during those times. Tonight we do have some representatives from Southwest Ambulance, but I'd like to specifically thank Jeff Baker and his executive team for kind of helping us get us across the finish line finally. Some of the benefits to the city of Goodyear, we will have dedicated ambulance capacity to the city of Goodyear, more specifically for EMR. That was something that we've had not had in the past. Now we've ensured that we will have a 24-hour ambulance down there that will be stationed at all times in EMR. They also have maximum allowable response times of up to 10 minutes on high priority calls with financial damages if the response times are not met. And the contract will also be dispatched at no cost to City Goodyear out of the Phoenix Regional Dispatch Center. Additionally, we've built in some capacity for our EMS supplies. After every call, when a patient is transported, we'll be able to exchange supplies used. And that certainly saves the city some money. So there's both a mixed fixed cost recovery as well as a variable cost recovery. And additionally, they will be paying us more than $80 per call anytime one of the Goodyear paramedics rides in with them to the hospital with the patient. This fee comes from the Department of Health Services. It's the difference between the ALS transport fee and the BLS transport fee. And additionally, we also have performance management criteria that's put in place to ensure that they are keeping up to speed with their contract and not missing anything. Why do we have that contract? Mostly availability, patient safety, interoperability, so we can speak with them on the same radio communication frequencies, and also efficiency of service to the citizens of Goodyear. What's next? We've worked hard on this, obviously, for almost now the last 4 years. We would recommend, again, that the council approve the contract as written that's before you. And I'm open for any questions.
Any questions from the, have any questions from the public?
No.
All right, I guess first we got to get a motion? Get a motion? To adopt from anybody?
So moved.
I'll move.
Okay, we got a motion from Councilmember Cavalier and a second from Councilmember Osborne. Any questions? Let's start left and we'll go there. It's Councilmember Gelser.
Okay, 2 questions. First of all, will these ambulances be equipped with the new radio system that we're putting in, or are they currently equipped with it now?
They have been upgraded already to the new radio system that we're putting in. So they have both mobile and portable communication ability with us.
Okay. Second question is, could you elaborate for the public the issues that DHS had and why they rejected the contract over the last 5 years, or the 5 times over the last 2 years?
Sure, there were multiple issues that ranged anywhere from the wrong statute number that was placed into the contract to them having issues with control of the patient at the scene. So each time we had to go back, review the remarks from DHS, both Southwest Ambulance, myself, and Rourke Massey, and kind of hash over some of those issues. Some of them were very small. Some of them took some time to kind of work through. And each time as you submit that back, it takes time again for DHS to kind of reread that contract. There were multiple times when we brought it to their attention where they denied the contract based on old language that we had already fixed. So we brought those conditions up to speed with them. So it's unfortunate. We're probably the longest that's been out there. However, there are 2 right now that are in the queue that are coming up over a year right now. Mesa's contract and I believe Sun City's contract just was finalized earlier this month, and they were over a year as well. So
I can make a smart comment, but I'm just going to shut up. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Osborne?
I had a question. How does this relate with our partnership with Litchfield Park? I mean, any service call that we have to Litchfield and that $80, is that still in tune with us, or does Litchfield have to make this same agreement?
no, it carries over. We actually use their Southwest 183 is stationed in Litchfield Park. And we use that a majority of the time in our city. But obviously when we run into their Litchfield Park, that's just considered a part of our coverage area, so that cost carries over.
Okay. And I guess back in April, and I just truly don't remember, have you stated to us in the past that this privatization of the ambulance system is better than if we had it ourselves?
No, ma'am, I have not.
Okay. Is that something that has ever been looked at, discussed for the future?
Yes. Well, it's different in the state of Arizona. You need to have what is called a certificate of need in order to provide the service for you. In order for that to happen, there's a lot of upfront capital costs that you need to account.
I'm sure.
So.
Well, I didn't mean today.
No, I know.
This was
no,
way in
I'm
the
just
future.
I'm trying to be
Right.
all inclusive of all the issues, and to you obviously place all that money into the capital cost of the service that you would need to provide, and then to go to DHS with the CON for approval, there's a very high potential for you to be turned down, and obviously
So
lose
what's
all
the
that capital,
CON and
so.
what
It's
are
a
those?
certificate of need. In order for you to bill Medicare, Medicaid, and to be able to transport patients to the hospital, you need to have physically a piece of paper in your hand that says you have that ability as bestowed by the state of Arizona. It's very different than most other states. We do have a very good partnership with Southwest Ambulance.
And that wasn't a question of the partnership. It was just the future. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Councilmember Sousa?
Yeah, thank you. If we contract with Southwest Ambulance,
Yes.
do the Goodyear users get any break in fees?
No, sir.
What does Goodyear get by going into the contract with Southwest Ambulance?
We do have, as I stated earlier, we have some fixed and variable revenue costs that can come back to the city through either replaceable goods at the scene, equipment that we have to purchase anyways. We're getting those replaced one for one at the scene. We also have the ride-in fee, which creates a revenue stream for the fire department, and then obviously for the city. And then also, we get the assurance that we do have the adequate response coverage in the city. Where before, without a contract, there's really nothing that keeps them from having ambulances in the city. Now we have performance metrics that they must meet in order to kind of stay within the boundaries of the contract. So,
Do we ever get into discussions with them over the fees that they're charging the residents?
no, sir. Those are set by the state, actually.
They are?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
That's something I never knew.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Cavalier?
You go ahead.
No, I just want to say Southwest Ambulance has been a very vital and effective service for us, and I would hate to ever lose that company because they've done a great job for us, and I would hate to have us try to take that on ourselves. Fire department has enough to do without dealing with that, and I certainly would trust these people. The experience and time they've been in the valley, Southwest Ambulance has shown that they are a vital part of our Southwest Valley, and I certainly would not want to lose them. Thank you, Mayor.
No, thank you.
Just real briefly, I think it's the $63,000.
Yes.
Is that inclusive of, you said, the one-for-one of the items used for treatment, or is that additional to that?
That's additional to that. So that would be the ride-in fee. Anytime one of our paramedics gets into the back of the ambulance and transports to the hospital.
And do we
with
get
their Southwest ambulance.
And when we get that ride-in fee and the whether, because I know Southwest Ambulance, they're private, right?
Yes.
So if they were not paid by the insurer of the patient, we would still recoup our costs.
Correct.
Okay. And then my last question is for, where is it going to be stationed up in EMR, just out of curiosity?
They are in the same plaza that has the Safeway.
Oh, okay.
They're right next to the Papa John's. They have a small office, and they park their ambulance in the back.
Oh, thank you very much.
Sure.
Any other? Well, I don't have anything to add. I agree, move forward with the contract. With that, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thought we had a motion on it. Did I miss something? Good? All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
With that, we got water, sewer obligation. We have a presentation. Was that Larry Lang?
Yes, thank you, Mayor and City Council, and good evening. The item before you tonight is the issuance of subordinate lien water and sewer revenue obligations, Series 2011. Two members of our finance team are also here this evening. Larry Given from Wedbush Securities is our financial advisor, and Scott Ruby from Gust Rosenfeld is our bond counsel. Both of them are here if there are any questions that I'm not able to answer. What the resolution is tonight before you is the council action to move forward with a planned financing that we've talked about for quite some time. What this financing will do is two things.
One is it'll provide the funds when combined with the proceeds that we received from the sale of water storage credits last year, provide funds to retire the entire obligation to the Gila River Indian community for the 100-year water rights that we acquired a few years back. As you'll recall, those obligations carry an interest rate of 8.25%, which is very expensive for us. So refinancing that makes a lot of economic sense for us. Other projects financed in this are out of the capital improvement plan, which has been approved by the City Council. Primarily, it's the completion of the final well at the Ataman in the Ataman facility, as well as some costs, a minor amount in the 157th Avenue wastewater treatment plant. As I indicated, the bond issue will be combined with the proceeds from the sale of the water storage credits. The debt service would be approximately, based on our estimates of today's interest rates, approximately $1.2 million per year. If we do not move forward with this transaction, the debt service just on the Gila River Indian community for this upcoming year would be $1.6 million. So there's a savings there in combining all of these together. The repayment of the debt service would be funded out of development impact fees to the extent that they're available, and then out of the water and sewer enterprise funds. There'd be no general funds or general obligation funds going towards these bonds. It'll come out of the water and sewer funds. The resolution does outline a maximum not to exceed interest rate of 7.00%. As you know, when we go forward with these, we put caps on the issuance amounts as well as on the interest rates that are generally higher. Under current market conditions, our expectation is approximately 5.5%, but we are in, as most of you have probably read, extremely volatile municipal bond market conditions at this point in time. It honestly isn't necessarily the best time to be selling bonds, but we have an April 1st due date that we're trying to meet for the Gila River commitment, and these projects, the other projects referred to, are ongoing. Just recently in a report, actually today, in a report that I read from one investment banking firm, they indicated that a particular report reported that municipal bond mutual funds again saw redemptions last week. In other words, more money flowing out of them than new money coming into them, and that's for the 13th straight week. So there it is, a little bit of tighter times in the municipal bond market than it has been historically. However, we're in a very good position in our bonds in that our rating through the rating agencies is in the high grade. Now, this issue has to be rated. They have not reviewed it, so I'm talking the historical rating agencies, but it is in the high grade. Because of the existing market conditions, we have probably for the first time in the history of Goodyear, for sure in the bond issues that I've seen, we're using two underwriters, both Stone and Youngberg and RBC, and the hope of using two underwriters in this is that it'll broaden the market coverage to help us get the most beneficial interest rates available. I'm available to answer any questions, and as I indicated, we have our financial advisor and bond counsel here if you have any additional questions.
Okay, well, first, are there any cards from the public?
Yes. Roger Matlin.
Roger?
Good evening. Roger Matlin, Goodyear. And, well, I guess Larry has learned I won't let him get away with anything, so he answered actually most of my questions. Although I will, I've heard that the new bond rate should be more like 5.25. So I was a little surprised, and the reason I put in a question card was because of the 7% interest rate, which I was concerned about. And just for the record, by the way, Larry, I was the chief underwriter for RBC Capital Markets. So I noticed you mentioned RBC. Just wanted to let you know that. Thank you, and thank you for the presentation that had all the details.
Thank you, Roger. With that, ask the clerk, they will read the resolution by title only.
Adopt Resolution 11-1418, third supplemental resolution supplementing and amending the City of Goodyear, Arizona Resolution Number 99-662, dated January 25th, 1999, as amended and supplemented, which authorizes the incurrence of water and sewer revenue refunding and improvement indebtedness, authorizing the execution and delivery of City of Goodyear, Arizona subordinate lien water and sewer revenue obligations, Series 2011, and the sale thereof to the purchase thereof, prescribing the form and other details of the 2011 subordinate obligations, providing that such 2011 subordinate obligations shall be subordinate obligations as defined in Resolution Number 99-662, as amended and supplemented, approving and authorizing the execution and delivery of a 2011 trust agreement, a 2011 agreement, a 2011 subordinate obligation, purchase contract, a 2011 continuing disclosure certificate, a 2011 official statement and related documents, delegating certain authority to the finance director, authorizing the taking of all other actions necessary to the consummation of the transactions contemplated by the third supplemental resolution, and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. Do I have a motion?
Move the adoption of the resolution as read by the city clerk.
And a second.
Okay, I've got a motion from Councilmember Sousa, a second from Councilmember Gelser. With that, open up discussion. Start here to the right. Go ahead, Chair.
I just want to be clear. It's the 7% is the maximum interest rate could be, but you're looking at probably closer to 5.5.
That's correct. The 7% is the highest allowed by this resolution, but 5.5 is our most recent estimate, but the market changes daily.
And are these like fixed rates once we refinance? So
That's correct.
we
We
would know what our rate
historically
is.
use fixed rates for our financing. We do not use variable rate financing.
And Larry, I just want to have you, and I don't know if you've worked it out the numbers that much. You said we basically go from 1.6 to 1.2 the first year. Have we figured out over the life of the bond what we would save?
No, we haven't, because part of where that savings also comes in, not only early on the interest rates, but instead of financing over, what was it originally? I think it was like 13-year period of time for the Gila River obligation. We're financing this at 30 years as we do most of our water and sewer infrastructure. So I didn't compare those two, no.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Cavalier.
Yeah, I'm not so concerned with that, because I think you've probably worked out a pretty good deal as far as the refinancing. My concern is where this money is being used and how this is being used. We're not certain of some of these obligations that we want to put this money toward. You're saying the Adam Water is part of it. You're saying some of that is the Indian lease, water lease. But let's go over to the Adam. Is that ready? And we keep hearing that it's on it's almost ready to go online, almost ready. This has been a year now. How long is it going to take before that thing goes online?
The latest report I read, it was in one of the weekly reports sent to you, was that was to be commissioned by the end of February. That was the only thing that was being waited.
That is correct.
Yeah.
That's by the state.
There's two issues. There's the physical infrastructure, which I think is underway, and the state approval, which we did receive last week.
So we did receive state approval.
We're in the appeals term for the next 30 days to see whether there's any objections to the approval letter by ADWR.
Okay.
But yeah, we got a real positive ruling from the ADWR.
And this is money that's obligated to complete the Adam and Water project for the city.
It's the completion of the funding in the CIP. Some of this money has been spent because we reimburse afterwards, and then some, I believe, goes to the second well that they're just starting to drill, if I understand
And this is for the
correctly.
delivery?
That's correct.
The pipes, everything is in or is close to being done, so that the delivery of that water system will come to the city very soon, I hope.
That is my understanding also, yes.
Do we have any projection on when we'll see that come into our water line?
I think the end of February is what my understanding was.
Mr. Mayor, Councilman Cavalier, Mark Flynn, Deputy with the Public Works Department. Production at the facility is nearing completion. The connections to the infrastructure system that will deliver water to the City of Goodyear system is available and in place. It's a matter of simply turning the pieces on now in the ADWR clarification. That system that Rourke was describing, that ruling that came down from them, I think, as I understand it, is the final complete component that would allow that to occur. So I expect that we're delivering water into the City of Goodyear the latter part of February, first part of March.
Okay, and the new line is in all the way through to Estrella?
I don't know that that's the case, sir. I think there's still a connection down Cotton Lane that has not been completed based upon discussions that are occurring with Newland. I don't know that that's completed. I can verify that for you and respond back, but I don't know that.
I'd like to know if that's where that is.
We'll be happy to find that out for you.
And if that's going to be because that's a part of that Adam. They're paying part of that.
That's one of the sources from which that water would be utilized, yes.
Because the Newland Communities is paying part on that Adam, aren't they?
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that.
Councilmember Cavalier, Mr. Mayor, there are negotiations on what Newland will pay. There is a minor connection that still needs to be made. Those negotiations should be concluded, though, within a month, certainly.
Okay, good. Thank you very much.
Councilmember Gelser?
Larry, could you comment on, in our financial report, the city's general obligation bonds have a AA rating, I think. I might be incorrect, but pretty decent rating. Could you comment on the rating that our water bonds have traditionally gotten, and would this bond set be in the same category as our GO bonds?
I'll ask our financial advisor. And the general answer is they're in the same area, but I'll let him get.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Councilmember Gelser. These bonds are, right now, the existing subordinately water and sewer revenue bonds are rated A3, A- by Moody's and S&P. And so they're a step below your GO bonds, which stands to reason, because generally revenue bonds are rated off of your general obligation bonds.
Okay, and so it's anticipated once the rating agency looks at this offering, the same rating will be issued for.
We anticipate that because the financial factors of the system are the same as last year when they rated the bonds.
All right, thank you very much.
Councilmember Osborne?
I do not have any questions, thank you.
Councilmember Sousa?
Did you give us a monetary savings from going from 8.3 to 7%? What the dollar?
No, the savings that I referred to were based on 5.5%. That was the calculation, yes.
We have no idea what the savings is between going 7.7 from 8.3.
Well, from 8.25 down to 5.5, that's about $400,000 a year that we're expecting the savings on, yes.
Okay, fine. Thank you. Thank you, Mr.
Just real quick, this is traditional bond, principal, interest?
Traditional bond, principal, and interest payable over, I believe, close to a 30-year period.
Anything else? Okay, with that, can we get a roll call?
Councilmember Cavalier?
Aye.
Councilmember Osborne.
Aye.
Councilmember Loretano.
Aye.
Councilmember Gilzer.
Aye.
Councilmember Sousa.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Pizzillo.
Aye.
Passes 6-0.
Now we come to the information items, comments, current events from the City Council. We'll start to the right. Councilmember Loretano.
I attended two things since the last meeting. The first thing was the ADEQ and EPA's meeting with regard to the plumes in Goodyear, and I was there with Councilman Gelzer, and it was very interesting to see that Crane is stepping up, albeit a little bit with some pressure. And the other thing I attended was the MAG Regional Domestic Violence Committee, and with the recent death in our city, my heart goes out to the family there, and everyone who knows me knows this is a very important issue to me, and I worked in this field. And I was really surprised, and I was wondering if we could get a button on our homepage. We have a Shop Goodyear button, but we don't have a quick button to give a victim of domestic violence any sort of information.
We'd be happy to, Councilmember Loretano.
Yeah, and so that was a very good meeting, so thank you very much.
Councilmember Cavalier.
Yeah, I went to several meetings. I think the most important was the light rail meeting, and I spoke to the man who did the presentation, and he wants to come out to our city council meeting and do a presentation at our work session some night here in the very near future. And that is to show us how it's very possible Goodyear could receive light rail in the closer than we thought in the future. So it's something that I think everyone on the council would like to hear. I have another comment too, and that was about the my vote on the agenda items. I voted only against the one, but I wasn't allowed to pull that one off, so I had to vote nay on all of them. And but it was because I was only against the one item, but we didn't have the opportunity to take that item off. Other than that, that was all I had.
Thank you. Councilmember Gelzer.
I had a busy time since our last meeting. I attended the water plume issue with Councilwoman Loretano, and we spent a long time listening to pollution, et cetera. I went to the light rail meeting with Councilman Cavalier, and as he said, light rail out to the West Valley may be closer than we all think. I also attended the police monthly CompStat meeting, and I can happily report, although the police chief will probably hit on me, that crime is down in Goodyear for the last month or so. And last but not least, I attended a unit reps meeting at Pebble Creek where Paula Arlardo, our economic development director, made a presentation to the Pebble Creek community on what's going on in Goodyear, and it was an excellent presentation that everybody enjoyed, and we're happy to see the new stuff that's actually happening. Thank you.
Councilmember Osborne.
I attended the Southwest Valley Chamber Board meeting, and I also attended one of those great workshops where I'm the only council member across the valley at, and it was on social media, and the League of Cities put it on, and it's something that I will be really looking at our staff and management for the future of Goodyear and how we're going to engage the 30-year-olds and younger. Social media is here to stay, and it's something that I feel we will be able to engage our citizens as our future grows. A couple other big cities are already tapping into it, Tempe and Mesa, and they have staff teams in the city where they have 10 people that are different people in different areas of the city, whether it's water, parks, whatever, and they are the person that puts the information on the different social media sites. But as our citizenry median age continues to go down, and unfortunately I keep getting older, I see that this is something that we're going to have to be looking at. The median age now of Goodyear is 35, and it's something that I believe we'll be able to engage another part of our population as we go forward.
Councilmember Sousa.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like the staff to look into the lights that are being burned in our parks. I've had 3 or 4 phone calls relative to lights burning beyond 10 o'clock in the evening. And they're concerned that we might be paying APS a lot of money, which we shouldn't be paying. So I'd like staff to get back to me and give me an idea of what time frames we're talking about that those lights should be shut off.
I will be happy to, Councilmember Kasusa.
Thank you.
The only thing I'd like to update is I had a chance to meet with the EPA this past week, talking about the plume and what they were doing to address that issue, and had an opportunity to meet with the other 2 mayors of Avondale and Litchfield Park over in Avondale with Crane's representatives face to face. And the message we had was we wanted to stop and then shrunk. So they understood it. They understood that message straightforward, and understand the seriousness of the cities that want this thing taken care of. And they say they're going to do it. Time will tell, but I understand the meeting Thursday was productive. Thursday night, I was unable to attend that one, but I got it right from the proverbial, head there at Crane that they're going to work to resolve this issue. With that, manager's summary of current events.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, just 3 items. First of all, you heard about the Great Hearts Academy earlier this evening. There will be a special meeting of the City Council following the work session tomorrow evening to consider an agreement that we were able to negotiate with Great Hearts Academy. And the basic business principles of that agreement are the Great Hearts will construct the deceleration lane that has been in question on the west driveway. This is on McDowell Road, just west of Litchfield. Secondly, Great Hearts will widen the western driveway to provide access for the emergency vehicles. Thirdly, the city will provide the traffic signals, the equipment and stuff, and upfront the engineering and installation costs for the Great Hearts intersection at that location. And fourth, Great Hearts will repay the city for the engineering and the installation costs over a 5-year period at $50,000 per year up to over a 5-year period, $30,000 per year up to a maximum of $150,000. So we were very pleased to reach that agreement. We will be offering that to you tomorrow evening for your consideration. The other thing I'd like to report upon is the sales taxes that we received. I sent out a report last night with really good news for the city of Goodyear. Our sales taxes came in for the Christmas sales, and they were phenomenal from all economic considerations that we've been having in town. Total sales taxes are up 4.85%, and that's with a significant decrease, again, in the construction sales taxes. But that represents the total sales taxes are up by $150,000 over the same period last year. From a fiscal year standpoint, we are up 5.06%, or $901,961 at the present time. The total non-construction sales taxes are up 9.62%, or $254,000 compared to the same period last year. And the fiscal year to date actual to budget figures are up over 5.03%, or $797,487. This is the one I really like. The total retail sales taxes were up 11.21% for the city of Goodyear compared to the same period last year. This is consistent with what retailers are reported nationally, and that this year's holiday sales exceeded expectations greatly. This 11.91% it was very positive from the city of Goodyear's standpoint. And then the final item on the sales taxes is our restaurants and bars went up 23.92% in 1 month. And this is a month after month, month over month increase, probably for, I don't know, for the past many months. So restaurants and bars are going up significantly every month, and they went up 23.92%, or $79,359 compared to last year. The other item I'd like to, The other item I'd like to mention briefly is what's happening in economic development. Just briefly for your benefit, the past retail situation, retail was following the rooftops. Our growth had averaged over 16% over 5 years. We were the fourth fastest growing suburban city in the United States between 2000 and 2006, and we were the Valley hotspot during this boom. About 1.5 million square feet of spec retail space was completed at the beginning of the recession. Very bad timing for them. Early 2009 was larger than the mall will be coming in, and more new space completed than any other Valley city. Our retail vacancy rate was high. It was above 20%. The current retail outlook is very favorable. We had 358 new business licenses for the second half of 2010. Total of 427,972 square feet of retail move-ins in 2010. Retail vacancy, about 680,000 square feet, which is down to about 15%. The absorption is happening even before the mall opens. We have a Palm Valley Pavilions is at 97% of capacity right now. Estrella Crossroads at 98% capacity. Goodyear Center Point at 100% capacity. Canyon Trails Town Center is at 67% of their total of their build-out to date. And the New Mountain Ranch Marketplace is at 72,000 plus square feet. And the big announcement is Estrella Falls Mall will be the next built in the Valley. And as you noted in an email I sent out to you earlier today, a quote from the Shopping Centers Today week of last week, where Macerich, which is the parent company of Westcor, announced that their CEO announced, Arthur Coppola, that the firm is convinced that this is the right time to start cranking up its bulldozers for the construction of the new mall. And they reconfirmed that it will be done by occupancy, will be completed by October of 2014. And this article said that they would start construction this year. We don't think that's correct. We think it will be 2012, but that does confirm the 2014 completion date. So that was very good news, and it's very good timing for us to get that information as we prepare to talk with you about the dashboard tomorrow evening and the sales tax situation in the city of Goodyear. This is the industrial successes since 2008. Many successes. Amazon.com, Macy's, CTCA, Suntech, Tower Automotive, Sub-Zero, and Lockheed, which decided to stay in Goodyear, and a total employees base of roughly 2,400 employees. The total economic impact of new jobs, Suntech, 150 new jobs with expansion possibilities, $16 million in capital investments, $34.5 million in direct payroll over 6 years, $275 million in economic output for over 6 years. Sub-Zero is going to be bringing 388 jobs over 7 years, $60 million in capital investments. They bought their own building. They paid They will pay $102.4 million in direct payroll over 7 years, and $1.7 billion in economic output over the next 7 years. What else is happening? CTCA has bought the 40 acres. CTCA has bought the 40 acres out in front of their building along Litchfield Road for expansion and retail hotel development. Macy's Bloomingdale's Fulfillment Center has bought the land next door that they will support a 200,000 square foot future expansion. Sunbelt Holdings bought all of Suncor's assets in Goodyear, including all of their industrial. And other large parcels of land are starting to change hands, which is a sign that we are definitely on an upswing. And at least 9 major restaurants have opened in Goodyear in 2010. And one of those is going to be Raul and Teresa's. As you know, they have a location down in Avondale. They're going to be opening their second restaurant on North Litchfield Road where Ichiban's used to be. That is a fantastic coup for the city of Goodyear, and that will be happening during March of this year because they have very little tenant improvements that they have to make since Ichiban's was the last restaurant that was in there. The current industrial environment is the low-cost spec buildings are helping today's success in the corporate recruitment business. Many companies are seeking new locations at today's depressed lease rates. We had 4 key large spec buildings, 3 are gone. Sub-Zero bought the 418,000 square foot building in Palm Valley. 303, Suntech and Kaiso Pano took over 170,000 square feet in Goodyear Crossings. And the Rubbermaid building, we have Tower and 2 possible newcomers in that space. So the only building left is the Louth building down on North Litchfield Road, on Litchfield Road at MC 85. 9 big buildings in the valley a year ago, and there are 4 today. Future industrial situation is we need more large spec buildings. We're working with current landowners to promote the building of more spec buildings. May not be financing available until vast majority of Valley's inventory is used up, however. We're working with current employers, large and small, to retain them and to further any expansion efforts. And we're trying to be more proactive in marketing to keep and attract new developers. Our new Leading Edge campaign is paying off in great benefits for the city of Goodyear. So the situation in Goodyear is very up and coming. And with the mall's decision now that it will be open in 2014, this is all very good economic news, and we are certainly on the right track. That's my report for this evening, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Staff summary of follow-up action required?
I will report back to the council on the O&M being put into a separate fund for future operations on the fire with SEDEA. We will be looking at putting a button on our homepage for reporting domestic violence and some kind of connection on that. And I will report back to Councilmember Sousa and the council with regards to the lights burning in the parks after 10 p.m. Those are the items I have for follow-up this evening, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any follow-up items for council of the manager? No? Okay.
Delighted to hear the good news from the manager. And they say we aren't progressing in this city. I hope the newspapers pick this up. That's what we've been saying right along, that this city is on the move and has been on the move, even in view of the recession. Thanks to staff, by the way.
With that, we have future meetings. We got a work session tomorrow. Starts at 4:30 p.m. Another work session on the 28th, 5 p.m. Regular meeting on the 28th starts at 6. March 14th, a work session at 5. Also followed by a regular meeting at 6 p.m. on the 14th. On the 21st, a work session at 5 p.m. With that, adjourn the meeting.